At some point in every labored right-wing contortion, the fabricators and spinners twist themselves around to such an extent that they find themselves with their metaphorical head up their metaphorical butt. Our fourth story tonight, First House Speaker Nancy Pelosi explained it was plausible that she did not know about CIA waterboarding because sometimes the CIA lies to Congress. The right wing, which loves the government, said the CIA never lies to anybody. Then the new CIA director told Congress Dick Cheney ordered the CIA to lie, leaving daughter Liz Cheney today arguing that that's not true. In other words, the CIA is lying. Well played, madam. Ms. Cheney filibustering on MSNBC today, claiming there is no evidence. Her father told the CIA to keep Congress in the dark. The word of the CIA, of course, not evidence to her.
Was there any attempt by your father in any way to keep the CIA from telling Congress information they should have heard?
Well, I think you have to look, for example, at what General Hayden said yesterday. General Hayden, the former director of the CIA, came out publicly on the record and said he was under absolutely no restraint for briefing Congress, and that he had a series of triggers about when Congress needed to be briefed, and that those triggers were not met with this particular program. I think it does a disservice to former directors of the CIA to politicize this issue, and I think it does a disservice to the Bush administration, frankly. We kept the nation safe for 8 years.
First, Ms. Cheney, General Hayden became director of the CIA in 2006. That would be 2 years after George Tenet of the CIA shelved the program. Second, the very story in which Hayden is quoted says explicitly, quote, he, quote, was speaking only of his time at the agency and not of the early period after 2001 when Cheney might have intervened. Third, Ms. Cheney, you have said before that Democrats politicized this by leaking details of the CIA program. No, CIA officials themselves brought this to Panetta's attention. The Democrats revealed only that they had been lied to. Who revealed the details of the program? The intelligence officials did. That also did not stop cohort Karl Rove from repeating the same mantra that Congress is not to be trusted with classified information, even though Rove and Cheney were at the center of leaking the covert operative Valerie Plame's identity. Former White House counsel Alberto Gonzales today, like Ms. Cheney, also not denying Mr. Panetta's story, but claiming he can't talk about it because it's classified. Circumspect now, apparently, after the Bush Justice Department found out that he had mishandled highly classified documents. But fourth, Ms. Cheney, and most obscenely, you kept us safe for 8 years. You let 3,000 people die. Your father delayed his first long-requested meeting about Al-Qaeda wait until September 10th. Your president told the CIA agent who tried to warn him about Al-Qaeda on August 6th that he was just covering his ass, you know, lying. Let's bring in MSNBC political analyst Eugene Robinson, also associate editor and Pulitzer Prize-winning columnist of The Washington Post. Gene, good evening.
Evening, Keith.
So the right wing is now saying the CIA is lying when it says it lied because the CIA never lies?
You know, this is like one of those logic puzzles, you know. I am lying now, but you can't be lying. It must be telling the truth. It's a ridiculous position, I think, that is being taken here by Liz Cheney, and one supposes by Dick Cheney, although he's been talking about everything else. He doesn't seem to want to talk about this incident himself. But the thing that drives me a bit nuts about this whole thing is the way that Cheney and Rove are creating the impression that, you know, the minute you brief the intelligence committees as required by law, everything that you tell them automatically leaks. That obviously is not the case. It is simply not true. And they're creating this impression in order to justify what seems to have been an egregious violation of a statute in this case, which was to brief Congress on intelligence activities the way the law requires.
And the House Intelligence Committee, according to the Associated Press today, asked the CIA for documents which would pave the way to investigate both exactly what this program was and how it was in fact concealed from Congress. You appeared with Ms. Cheney on MSNBC this morning. Was it your sense that that is exactly what she was trying to prevent happening?
My impression was that the creation of this kind of wall of smoke was to prevent a further investigation of exactly what happened. Did her father, in fact, tell the CIA not to disclose this program to the committees as was required by law? And is that not, or would that not have been a violation of law that would leave him open to some sort of sanction? I mean, you can't just, there's no point in having a law if the vice president, not the president, mind you, but the vice president, who has no constitutional authority really to do anything, can just ignore it. It's outrageous to me.
Your newspaper today reported that the Bush administration kept this from Congress because the program, the Al-Qaeda assassination program, or whatever it was called, Dick Cheney's got a secret program. They kept it from Congress because it didn't get anywhere. Time magazine says the Bush CIA decided to go after Al-Qaeda, or that if they went after Al-Qaeda this way it would be too risky. Does this not sound in real life, from the pages of recent history, exactly like what the GOP always accuses Democrats of being in caricature, soft and incompetent when faced with actual terrorists?
Well, it does sound as if maybe this the gang involved with this program couldn't shoot straight. But again, we don't know really what it was. Presumably, there are a lot of intelligence programs that get started that don't work out quite the way they were intended, and that's to be expected. If you're going to have a CIA, that not everything it's going to try to do is going to work. But if you're going to have a CIA, you do have to run it according to the law, and you have to brief the intelligence committees, and that's really the violation here. And all this other stuff, is ancillary, including this. We kept you safe for 8 years. Well, not quite 8 years, as you pointed out, but that is beside the point. It's not the ends justifying the means. It's the law requiring actions that were not taken.
Well said. Eugene Robinson, Pulitzer Prize-winning columnist of The Post and also of MSNBC when we're lucky enough to have him. Thanks as always, Gene.
Good to be here, Keith.